Hey everyone, this is YJ from Swift Accelerator. This is not the actual briefing that we conducted on 20th January at 10 to 11:30 a.m. Something went wrong with our sound recording, which also explains the delay. Our sincere apologies to everyone who's been waiting for this briefing. So here we are, re-recording the briefing. We'll go through the gist of it, and if you have any questions, please let us know. You can email us at hello@swiftinsg.org, or you can just go to our webpage where you can find a contact form. Let's go. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the people who are running this program, and that's because there's some stuff there that's kind of relevant to the program and how we're approaching things and why we're doing it and things like that. If you're watching this, I suspect you are already somewhat convinced that you want to take part, but I'll just quickly go through some of these things. So first of all, we are Tinkercademy. We are part of the Apple Consultants Network, which means that we work with Apple to run their education programs here in Singapore. Some of you might have worked with us. So if you're a student, you might have seen some of our lessons. If you're a teacher, you might have worked with us on various projects. So this is what we want to do. We like to work with technology. We like to educate. We like to make things. Okay. And what we've done over the years is we've also created apps. So I'll tell you more about this in a moment. And other than that, of course, we create curriculum, we make kits, and we also try to develop our students. And some of them come back to work with us, they intern with us, and they contribute in many ways. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about the apps that we've been making over the years. This one over here is called Teacher's Pet, and this is something that my co-founders and I made very early on in the company. And two of us actually used to be teachers. So that's Akmal and I. We used to be secondary school teachers. And as new teachers, one of the issues that we faced was we always found it difficult to keep up with the things going on in the classroom. So if you, as a new teacher, walk into a classroom, there'll be some student that tells you they forgot to bring their homework. This other student, you need to follow up with their parent. This other student, you need to collect something from them because they owe it to you since like 3 weeks ago. It's just a lot. So we thought, let's make a to-do list that's contextual for teachers. It will know your schedule. So you walk into a classroom, it will know the class list, it will bring it up, and you can actually use it in the classroom. So all well and good. So we built it. Okay, so this was one of our first iOS apps. We designed and built the entire thing. And there are a lot of lessons that we took away from building it. The biggest lesson, though, was that nobody actually wanted the app that we built. And that's something that we think is actually quite interesting for our students to learn about, because it speaks to how app development is not just about the technical knowledge. It's not just about being able to build something. It's also about figuring out your audience. It's about figuring out what your audience wants. It's about figuring out design, marketing, storytelling, and many, many other factors. So you can see on screen that we managed to sell a total of $458.69 of apps, which, as many of you can tell, is not enough to pay for 3 people's salaries over a few months. This here is a slightly more successful app. It's called IC Photo. It's so successful that we haven't had to update it in the last 8 years. Actually, that's because we haven't had the time to actually update it. So it's a very simple app. What happened was that way back when the iPhone first came out, we thought, hey, this is a pretty good idea. We always get our friends and family coming to us and they'll ask us, hey, can you crop our photo, get it to the right size, make sure the eyes and mouth are in the same place? Okay, because ICA actually comes with all these different requirements. So we thought, yeah, we can build an app. So we essentially built a selfie app. And this was before we ever heard of the term selfie. And it was a bit of a hit, partly because it was free, partly because, it's just something that spoke to people. We actually reached number 2 on the App Store. But the lesson I want to take away from this is that this is the app that we built to actually learn how to program for iOS. So some of you who are listening to this might be students, you might be teachers, and you might be wondering, what's the difference between this and any other course out there? There are courses available on places like Udemy and, like YouTube even, completely free, or $15 on Udemy or something like that, that you can just take and you will learn the same things that you do in this class, maybe even more, because they can cover more content than we have time for. One of the things that we think really helped us learn was having an actual project to build. So we really wanted to make this happen. Initially, we were learning from videos online, just like, these YouTube and Udemy videos. We were learning from the Stanford CS193P program. And it was a great course. I still find it very useful to go back to it every year. But we couldn't really learn anything just by listening. We had to go and make something. We had to go and figure out how to make this overlay show up on our screen. We had to figure out how to make animations. We had to actually get our hands dirty to make something. And I think that if students are interested, and they join this class, they will have to make things, and that's how they will actually learn. Along the way, we've made various other apps. Feel free to download some of these stickers if you find them useful for expressing how you feel about things. We've also made a commercial service called Guest Day, which is something that we had created even before the iPad. So back in the day, in 2009, we were at that age where many of our friends were getting married. So one of our friends said, "Hey, could you help us with our wedding reception?" So we're like, "Sure." Right? Being the annoying nerds that we were, we came up with some ridiculous system where we built a whole web app and brought down laptops and monitors and everything. And yeah, we built something, and we thought that it might make for an interesting product. What really helped Guest Day take off, though, was the iPad. Once you have an iPad, you have the entire computer on the device. It syncs to the internet. So you can imagine if people go up to an event, you just search for their name, you scan a QR code or something, and you can check them in. And you can see at a glance how many people are at the event at any given time. So initially, we targeted the wedding audience, but wedding couples are not repeat customers. So we thought, okay, let's go target events audience, right? And now we work with some event companies. Oh, well, we did work with some event companies because this kind of went away during the pandemic, but it was a pretty good side business back in the day. So from there, we learned a lot about meeting the audience needs. There were certain features that the audience really liked. There were certain things that didn't quite survive the meeting with the audience. So some of the features we tried to implement, we thought they were great, but our customers were looking for something else. So these are all useful things that we hope that we will be able to tell the students in the Swift Accelerator program. Here's another story. This is about Jia Chen. Jia Chen is my assistant instructor, and you'll be co-instructing this course this year. And we were just discussing this, I think in 2021 or 2022. And this was during the pandemic when we were conducting classes online. So I thought, I wish there were a way to annotate my Mac screen, because I like to, type on the screen, and sometimes I just want to draw attention to somewhere on the screen. In presentation software, I can just do it by holding down a button, and I can have something highlight on the screen. But I couldn't do that in Xcode, which is the software development kit that we use for building apps. So I found a $2 app. And Jia Chen said, "Why would anyone pay $2 for an app when they can build it themselves?" At which point, knowing him, I said, no, stop. You have better things to do. And true enough, over the weekend, he showed up with an app that he built and which we sometimes still use and which we sell on the App Store for $2. I think the lesson to take away from this is that once you find out that you can build things, it actually becomes a brand new way of looking at the world. So for me, I was like, well, you know what? I have, I guess, more money than time in this sense. Definitely $2 worth more money than time. So I bought an app. But Jia Chen, being a student, he thought, you know what? I want to build this. I can build this, and I will build this. So he actually built an entire app to do this. It's called Friction. Check it out if you are interested in something like this. So yeah, so that's about the company and some of the apps that we've built. So my name is YJ, once again. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about my journey. And from there are a few more things that I want to talk about that are relevant to Swift Accelerator. So this is me. I regret that I'm unable to show you my face on this video right now, but we're just kind of quickly recording it so that we don't make everyone wait too long. So I went to study at an overseas university where I had a chance to actually teach a lot of programming. And the intro computer science course at Stanford was very popular. I think about 60 or 70% of every undergraduate cohort actually takes it. And that's where I learned about how they teach intro programming. And it's been very inspiring. And I really appreciate the lessons that I've learned from there as a teaching assistant. So I came back. I taught at Raffles Institution. Again, I was lucky enough to be able to teach the computer elective program. So I get to come up with my own curriculum. And later on, I moved on to MOE to be a senior head in policy and planning. So I did some data science work back even before it was called data science for our university cohorts. And since then, I started this company with a couple of friends, and we've been at this for the last 14 years. What I want to talk about, though, is how I learned to code. So back in the day, this was how we did it. We had this thing called Logo, where you actually have a little turtle, you move it around the screen, you go forward, you turn, and you do loops, and you do interesting things on screen. It was created by Seymour Papert, an education researcher, and he's very well renowned in the field. And the idea is that you learn by solving problems. And I think that's something that really speaks to how we approach this program. For myself, when I first started using computers, I was using DOS. And one of the fun things that my nerdy friends and I did was, instead of playing games, we would spend our time scripting menus for our games or modifying some of the games that were available for free on the computer. So we had a ton of fun with this, and we learned a lot. And I think that's one of the things we're looking for in our students. Students who essentially would derive more pleasure from creating a way to play their game more efficiently than to actually play their game. I think if that sounds like you might want to apply for this program. So when I went to university, I had a chance to actually try out the Stanford curriculum. And one of the things they did was, on the right-hand side, this is the Carol the robot. It's a graphical programming done in C. So you actually still use C commands, but the commands are distilled down to something simple, like move forward, pick beeper, place beeper, but you can use things like loops and conditionals, and you can build a lot of different things from there. And that reminds me a lot of Swift Playgrounds on iPad, where you have a fun little 3D character, you can move it around, and you can learn the Swift programming language. That's something I wanted to point out, because if you are interested in applying for this course, you should probably check out Swift Playgrounds and the Learn to Code series. If you learn a little bit of programming before you take part in, before you start on the entrance questions, you might have a bit of an advantage, I think. All right, so since then, we've been teaching in all these different languages and frameworks, and I have to say Swift is probably my favorite course to teach. The great thing about Swift and the Swift Accelerator program is that it really lets us go in depth. In many classes that we do in schools, and with good reason, we only have, let's say, 10 hours, maybe 20 or 30 with a school, if we're working with an Infocom club. But this program is long. This program is 180 hours. And that means we have a chance to really go in depth and really build something and finish a really meaty project, or three. Okay, so once again, what's changed since my day? So back in my day, that's how I learned to code. Nowadays, it's a lot easier, right? You can go to YouTube, you can get ebooks, you can go to many websites. But what really makes a difference now is that, when you come to Swift Accelerator, you have a chance to join a community of people. You will take the same classes with them. You will take the same scammy Kahoots that we are well known for. You will take part in different challenges, and you will code different projects in teams. So I think that's one of the key things that really speaks to the program, that really speaks of the program's benefits. And it's something that it's hard to replicate on your own. I know some of you are coming from schools where you have a big community. So I know schools like, let's say, the School of Science and Technology. There's all kinds of people around you who are interested in tech and building apps and, just creating things. But there are also many other students from many schools where they don't even have an Infocom club, or they might be the only person interested in programming in the entire club. So we're looking for these people. So if you're part of the former group, right, you get to meet these people. And if you're part of the latter group, you get to find more like-minded folks. I think what's been really heartening is that the community has kind of built around itself and built up on itself. And I see the former students in the program getting together and taking part in hackathons and, working together on different projects. And it's just really great to see that they've found some like-minded folks through the program. What else has changed since the days that I've been learning to code? Well, it's a lot easier to get your products out there. With the App Store, you can just upload your app and put it on the store. So on that note, all the program participants are expected to finish an app in a team and publish it on the App Store. So Tinkercademy will actually host the apps. So it does cost a bit of money to get an App Store account, but we'll host it. And you can actually take a look at the apps available from our former students at our website. Just go to swiftinsg.org and take a look at the apps section. So the great thing about the being an app developer nowadays is that you no longer need to put everything in a box, sell it to, let's say Challenger or some kind of a retail operation and hope that someone buys it. You just need to put it on the store and Apple will settle everything for you, right? So they'll settle all the downloads, they'll settle, hosting your files. You just need to upload things, get it approved, and it's all available. All the apps that our students make are available for free, so we don't expect you to charge for it, nor do we want you to charge for it. But in the future, if you want the app back, if you have your own App Store account, we are happy to transfer that to you. Okay, so I think I just like to keep this slide around because it reminds me that, one teenage student, right, all the way back in 2013 from Vietnam can actually make a huge difference. So he made this simple app available on, mobile, and it wasted millions and millions of hours of time worldwide. And it's just really remarkable what difference one person can make. So I think that, if any of this sounds compelling to you, I hope to see you apply for the program. Okay, so once again, all this is to tell you why join, right? This is a little story that I like to tell. This is an app called Boop Snoop. Okay, and it's a bit related to the friction app story from just now. So this man on screen is called Robin Sloan. So what he does is, I don't think he's a programmer, right? I found this on his website and he said there he's not a professional programmer, but he found this app where it could let him share photos with his family. So it's kind of like Be Real, I think. I don't understand how some of these apps work nowadays. I'm very old. But what happens was that during the day, the family will take photos and they'll post, and it's kind of like a mini social network in the family. So there was this app, it went away. So he actually went to build a replacement app for it. And he never put it up on the App Store. So he found a problem that needed to be solved. He actually just built the app, and it's good enough for him. So he has this superpower. He's able to solve this problem with an app. And for him, he likens it to home cooking. So I do understand that some of you listening might be like, yeah, but I'm also really interested in physics. I'm really good at mathematics. I want to be a doctor in the future, right? I don't think that precludes you taking part in a program like this, because you might not want to be a professional software developer, much like this man on screen, Robin Sloan, but after this program, you will walk away with the ability to solve problems in a different way. So his analogy for this is he doesn't want to be a chef, but he knows how to cook. He enjoys cooking for his family. And now he has the ability to cook for his family. And to him, that's what coding is about. That's what building apps is about. And I think for many of you, you're still very young. Who knows what you'll be doing in the future? Who knows what programs you'll be studying in the future? Might not be computer science. For many of you, it's going to apply to you as well. All right, so who knows what your future will hold, but I think it'll be great if you walk away with the ability to do something and you walk away with proof that you can do something like this. This is Jia Chen. I mentioned him just now. This is the annoying fellow who decided to build an app despite me telling him not to. This was him presenting to Tim Cook on his visit to Singapore way back in the day. This was pre-pandemic. And since then, he's grown a lot, right? This is him slightly taller, and he's become featured on Apple Education website. And he's also done a mentorship program at the Apple Developer Academy in Batam, which I think is really remarkable. So as a Polytechnic student, he is out there teaching adult learners on how to program in Swift. And from all feedback that I got from the staff there, they love him to bits, right? He does all kinds of cool stuff and he knows all kinds of interesting things. And he's responsible for a lot of the curriculum that we've been building over the years. So finally, this is what the program is about, Swift Accelerator. We've had students from about 45 schools. We'd love to see more. We've had 300 plus alumni. I think the actual number is 321. And we've had over 60 apps, 63 if I'm not wrong, published on the App Store. Okay, so these are some photos of our times together, right? Some years we've had to do it online. Some years we've done it in person. We have guest speakers. And what it is, well, it's a talent development program for secondary school students with an interest in aptitude for app development and computational thinking. It takes over 8 months. We start in March and we usually end by November, sometimes December. And it's not just about learning to code. You have to apply storytelling and design thinking principles to actually release an app. In 2018, we started this with IMDA and with support by Apple. And now we have about 300 alumni from 6 batches. So this year will be the 7th batch. And the program is fully subsidized by IMDA for 50 successful applicants. This year, we are looking to take in 60 because we think that we would like to increase our pool of people. Okay, so what you learn? Well, you learn app development, of course. You will code in Swift, you use Xcode on the Mac, and you build with the iOS SDK. In particular, you use Swift UI, which is the latest framework from Apple, and that's the framework that's being used to design and build apps for iOS, iPadOS, and even things like Vision OS. You also learn app design. So like I said before, it's not just about learning how to code. You have to learn how to design. You have to learn what your audience wants. And you also have to be able to tell a good story behind your app. Otherwise, you're just going to end up like our teacher's pet app where we released it and nobody downloaded it. The curriculum is based on Apple's developed in Swift curriculum, but that's a UI kit. So that's actually the older framework. In 2021, we actually revamped our entire curriculum to use Swift UI, which is the more modern framework, and it's done really well. We think that it's something that students can pick up more easily, and it's really more future looking because that's what Apple recommends that people learn from here on. All right, but one thing to note, you have to use Xcode on a Mac. We'll talk more about this in a moment. So we've had classes over the years. In the years when we couldn't have classes in person or at Apple, we've done it at the Tinkercademy office. This is the previous Tinkercademy office. And the overall goal is to build apps. Okay, so I won't be lecturing as much as I won't be lecturing as much as this, I hope. I'll try not to talk for more than 15 minutes at a time. What we're going to do is we're going to demo how to build apps, and the students will follow along. We're going to ask the students to explore building similar apps to the ones that we have demoed. And we're going to, for the first time, have some challenge-based apps in teams. One of these will culminate in your own app published on the App Store. Okay, so on screen, we have just some examples of things that our students have built during hackathons. We hold these little hackathons, we have some silly little prizes, and we get everyone to showcase the things they've built. Some of the things are a bit weirder than others, such as the one on the right of the screen. I have no idea what it's about, but, you know, this guy won the Swift Student Challenge, so who am I to say anything, right? Okay, so the challenge-based projects are new, and we're going to use it as a way to get students to interact more with one another, and they will have a chance to work with mentors who are actually alumni of the program. All right, so it's very exciting, and we're going to get them to present in a showcase to the class, and maybe we'll invite guests, perhaps from industry, to see what they've created. And the final one will, of course, be the app that they publish on the App Store. These are, as mentioned, the apps that have gone on the App Store. So there are many of these, and we hope to see yours on the App Store by the end of the year. By the end of the program, you will receive a certification from IMDA on the right that shows that you finished the program, and on the left is something else from IMDA. It's a sponsored attempt at an industry standard certification called the App Development with Swift Associate certification. So this is entirely optional. It's an exam. It takes an hour or so, and you need about 70% to pass. The curriculum is actually not 100% covered in our app development curriculum, but our students do really well because it's all very easy to pick up once you have finished the program. So this is something to aim towards. It's something that the industry recognizes as, okay, well, this is something that Apple and the industry have set out as a certification for high schoolers and university students. The last thing I want to talk about is our community. Our community comprises a lot of alumni. Right. So the first year, I tried to run this class on my own, which I think I did a commendable job. Right. It took a lot of effort, okay, to get this off the ground. But what really took off was in the second year onwards, when Jia Chen and a few other students started showing up. Right. Jia Chen showed up every week, and a lot of them started showing up towards the end to help our students finish their apps. And to my amazement, a lot of the apps got published. In our first year, we only published 4 apps on the App Store out of a total of, I think, 13 to 15 teams. In the second year, almost every team published on the App Store because the alumni came back and they helped out. So, like I said before, right, it's always good to find people that you click with. If it works for you, I think that would be a fantastic experience. If it doesn't, at least you have these, at least you've gotten to know some really cool folks. Since then, we've also expanded to the UAE. So the UAE has taken in their first batch of 200 students for the Swift Accelerator Programme in 2023. And we've even had a chance to do a community conference with them where we met up online with them, had some fun online games, and presented to one another. Okay, so every year we hold the Swift Innovators Summit. This year, the summit has just passed. It was last weekend at time of recording at Raffles Girls' School. This is a bit like a graduation event where our students will have a chance to showcase their apps to the public and to incoming students. So maybe some of you were there. Maybe you attended some of our workshops, and maybe you actually heard from some of our students who graduated from this year. And we have a website that keeps track of our students' achievements. One of the more notable achievements is the Swift Student Challenge. The Swift Student Challenge is an international challenge conducted by Apple, where they award 350 students a year with a prize for submitting an interesting and innovative app experience on iPad. So last year, all 5 winners were from Singapore, were from the Swift Accelerator Programme, which I found pretty remarkable. And we've had 12 winners over the last few years. So these are some of the features. If you're interested in finding out more, please head to the website swiftin.sg/news. So we've come to the most important part, which is applying. There are some requirements. First, you need to be able to commit to the long training schedule. Okay, the training schedule is 180 hours. I will send a link. I'll put a link on screen afterwards, and you can go take a look at what our tentative schedule is like. You should have access to a MacBook, and the MacBook should be on Apple Silicon. So Apple Silicon is the M series chips. So there's M1, M2, and M3 nowadays, and it should be able to update to the latest version of macOS. What if you don't have a MacBook, or you can't afford to buy one? We'll talk about that in a moment. Okay. We will be able to loan a few MacBooks to applicants who are unable to get access to a MacBook. Okay, so what do these applicants do usually? Some applicants will actually start off by checking with the school. The school might have some MacBooks. The MacBooks might be older. Some schools might be able to support with newer ones. Do check with us, right? So that's one possibility. Another possibility, if you can afford it, right, is to purchase a MacBook if it makes sense for you, of course. If it makes sense for you and your family, then you can purchase a MacBook. MacBook M1, MacBook Air is, I think, under $1,500, if I'm not wrong. And I think you might be able to get some education pricing, so to try and keep the cost down. So that's a possibility. But of course, we don't want to make it such that you have to buy something to get into the program. So one last possibility is we have some MacBooks that we will be able to loan out, but of course we have a limited number. We are unable to loan out 60 MacBooks to the entire cohort, for instance. So this might play into the ability to accept everyone into the program. So these are just some things to think about. This program is sponsored by IMDA, so members of Infocom and media clubs will get priority when applying. Okay, so please apply at swiftin.sg/apply by the 27th of February. Okay, that's our deadline. There's an online application form. So you just need to go there and apply. Is the 27th of February actually a Saturday? I don't think it is, but it's okay. All right, it's a Tuesday, but that's fine. So just apply by the date. So please ignore this. Ignore. Okay, you need to fill in your particulars, your contact info, and your teacher info. And there's a quiz. There's a little programming quiz. If you know Python, if you know Swift, if you know any programming, you should be fine. If you don't know any programming, that's when I think you should download the Learn to Code series on Swift Playgrounds on iPad and try it out. We're going to ask you to upload a video and some other supporting documents. These are just there's a little task for you to do. We just want to find out, whether you're a good fit for the program. So here you go. this aptitude assessment. All right, so don't worry about being very familiar with Swift. The idea is that if you know enough programming, you should be good to go on this. Okay, so one thing to note is to please attempt this section under exam conditions. If you discuss this with people and you both get in and you both end up not knowing what's going on in the class because the class moves really quickly, that's to the detriment of you as well as people who would have gotten in otherwise. Okay, so I ask for a bit of honesty and integrity in this application process. We're not going to hold an exam for you, but we do want to make sure that those who get in will be able to keep up with the program. Okay, so the next part is a practical in the video. You'll be asked to do a bit of design. Okay, so you can use any format to make this prototype. It can be a keynote, it can be pen and paper, and you just need to record yourself talking about it, but not for more than 3 minutes. Okay, so this one, you might have done something like this before. This might be brand new to you. Don't worry. Just try it out. Just be yourself. Figure out what you think should happen. Okay, and we will just use that to get to know you better. Finally, if you have a portfolio, for example, if you've done all kinds of programming projects already, maybe in other platforms, please let us know. Okay, please submit all of this, but don't stress if you don't have anything to submit. All right, we have had many students join us who are brand new to programming, and they got in on the strength of what they submitted. Some things to take note of. The form is an online form. Please save a backup copy of your responses. If you log in with a JotForm account, that's the name of the form provider, you can save your progress. Okay, please check to make sure that you receive a copy of your application in your email. All right, so when you finish, it should send you a copy. And if you don't get this copy, please let us know, because sometimes something goes wrong somewhere. You thought you hit submit, but you didn't. Another tip is to try out Swift Playgrounds. And this last one, maybe not quite applicable. Attending the Swift Innovator Summit would have been nice to find out more about the program, but it's okay. If you have questions, please drop us an email. This is the schedule. The schedule is on the right-hand side. It's tiny, okay, but you can go to the website on screen, swiftin.sg/schedule. There's a morning cohort and an afternoon cohort. So it's 9 to 12:30 or 1:30 to 5. But during the holidays, we will get the entire class back together. This is subject to change because it depends on whether we are able to book the rooms. All of these will be held at the Apple office at Innovis, which is at the Fusionopolis. Okay, is at the 1 North MRT station. All right, so this is just to get a sense of this. There you get a sense of all this. Here are some frequently asked questions. These came up during the session. Who can apply? Well, this is an IMDA program, and we are being funded by IMDA on this, which means that the people who can join are the folks who are able to benefit from IMDA's Infocom programs. So this includes secondary school program students from MOE schools, usually secondary 1 to 3. If you're in secondary 4 and you're taking your O-level this year, please take a good look at the schedule from a few seconds ago and see whether that makes sense for you, because there's a big project at the end. And if you can't work on your project during that time, it will be very unfair to your teammates. If you're in IP year 4, you should be okay. All right. You might recall that we said that Infocom Club members get priority, but non-Infocom Club members can apply as well. Okay. JC students, technically okay. Please check your schedule. We've had 1 or 2 JC students. It didn't quite work out because of their schedule, so they had trouble finishing the program. For polytechnic students or international school students, you fall outside of IMDA's ambit. So if you have weird circumstances like that, please email us. We do still have options for you, perhaps. We'll figure something out. So email me. That's my email on screen, yjsoon@tk.sg. So once again, dates and times, Saturday mornings or afternoons, weekdays in March, June, September, and November holidays. In June, we try not to touch the middle 2 weeks. So if you're planning your travel, think about that. We try not to touch December holidays, so you can plan for that as well. Where's the location? All sessions are face-to-face at Apple Singapore, although some lessons may go online. All right. Sometimes we just go online because the venue got booked up. All right. Because we are there by by Apple. Met with thanks to an Apple education team for booking it for us and keeping this space available for us. Saturdays are no problem, but weekdays, of course, is a working day, and sometimes they're going to need it. Okay. So one question that we get is, can I attend face-to-face lessons online? If you really have to, we are okay with it, but there's a lot of teamwork. There's a lot of group work that you need, where you need to collaborate with your team. So that's going to make life difficult if you want to do it online. Okay, so we ask you to do it as as infrequently as possible. Okay, as infrequently as possible. What's the cost? Again, I hopefully mentioned this before. It's fully sponsored by IMDA. Okay, except for devices, you need to figure out your own devices if we are unable to loan it to you. Again, no device, we will try and loan one out to you. We have a certain number, and what happens with these devices is that we will loan them to you for the entire year. So you actually get the device to bring home and learn and do your own things with it. We ask you not to install too much rubbish on it that will cause problems for you. But other than that, it's something for you to use until the following year graduation. Okay, so again, don't necessarily count on being able to do this. If you can, and if it makes sense for you, you might want to figure out how you get your own device. You might be asking whether you should select morning or afternoon. The key thing here is to make sure that you can make it for the sessions. Okay, so we might run out of slots for morning, we might run out of slots for afternoon. If you can make it for both, tell us, and then we will be able to slot you into either one. Can you sit in on the other class? Yes. Okay, we are going to be quite chill about all this. If you're part of the morning cohort, you can stay back. If you're part of the afternoon cohort, you can come early. All we ask for is you not disrupt the class. Okay? All right, and that's it for this briefing. It's a full 37 minutes. Sorry for taking so long. Please, once again, fill in the form by the deadline, which is 26th of February 2024, not 2023. Please ignore the fake news on the screen. Refer to the site to apply, and there are probably other FAQs. If you have any questions, please just email us. That's it. Thank you so much. I'll see you in class.